Hello, I'm Chris, and this is my continuing build for emeralds.co.uk of the Zaku 2 mobile suit. This is part 2, where I'm going to be building the armour, or at least some of it. If you missed part 1, where I did the inner frame, go and watch it now. I'll wait. Well, I won't wait, but you know, you come back and I'll be continuing on. So that's basically what we did in the first one. Built the inner frame, painted it and weathered it, gunked it up, made it look old and knackered. So that's, say, to one side. Now when I did the frame, it's different to the instructions. The instructions basically build up from the foot upwards, building everything. So obviously I had to amend those somewhat to be able to do just the frame. So I'm basically going back to the beginning of the instruction manual now and sorting out the bits I need for the legs. The legs are done, say, right leg, left leg. So as I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it how I normally build things, in that I'm not going to get everything cut off the sprue and packed away. I'm going to cut it off in stages. So I'm going to do the legs now. Now the Gundam itself, excuse me, rattling around the box, is still on, obviously, many sprues. Now they do come in different colours, and I am going to be repainting all of this. So I think this is basically the weapons piece mostly, which is obviously in the more neutral grey. We've also got some grey pieces there. The blue, I'm not too sure about where that goes. I think that's the back, like an thruster pack or something. So as well as a couple of transparent pieces, we've got a very pale green, several sort of medium greens, and a very dark green, and a slightly different green there as well, which, yeah. Now, as I mentioned before, I've got the Vallejo Mecha colours, which conveniently I have in 3 greens. We've got a light green, an olive green, and a deep green. Now, looking at the actual colours themselves, obviously we've got a very light green, which is fine for that, a deep green, which is fine for that, and the dark green, which is fine for that. I'm not sure about the other one. I'll probably mix up those two to get the sort of more green. We'll worry about that when we come to it. But as Fox always says, Gunpla is freedom, so the colours don't really matter. I'm going to be using basically the colour of the plastic as a guide for what colours I'm going to be using. But I say, whatever goes. So yeah, I'm going to get the first few bits cut off the sprue. As ever, cutting them off the sprue is a simple matter. Let's grab the first piece and start off. The first piece I need for the ankle unit, I need B12 is the one that is basically the foot, so I need E11 and H12. Let's see which one the first these that I find. A, F, none of them. It's going to be one of the dark colours. B, there we go, B11. Oh, that must be one that I've already got as well. So let's have a look through here. Ankle unit B12, yeah, so I need E11 and H12. Right, there's one that says H. So let's see what H12 is. This piece here. So cutting it off the sprue, basically, as I said, I'm using quite a nice pair of side cutters, so I can actually get in pretty close to the sprue, to the piece straight away, without having to worry too much about cutting lumps off the sprue and then going in. So I'm going to get these cut, so very close to the piece. If your cutters aren't as sharp or as nice as these, you'll have to cut obviously a bit further away and then worry about sanding down more, going from there. So I've got a couple of little nubs on there. I'm going to use some sanding sticks just to remove most of that from there. until that's not only invisible but you can't feel it. Feeling is always going to be better. And then work down to a lesser grade stick. Now I'm not sure how much of this is going to be visible, so I'm going to make it basically as nice as I can. So then almost a polishing stick, so you really can't feel that on there at all. I can do that obviously for all of these pieces. Can get them all cut off and then get them painted and start assembling. So not going to film cutting them all off the sprue because, well, you've seen it, it's just that multiplied by a few bits. So I'm going to get all these armour pieces cut off. So knowing where they go and figuring out where they go is the next trick. But then the colours, I say, I'll work on the colour of the plastic and basically paint it according to that. So I'll get them cut off the sprue and I'll see you in a moment. As you're unpainted, I've got one foot mostly together. I'm going to do the same with the other. So you will need his actual foot. So I'm just ripping that off of his body. I'm not pushing it together completely, so some of it's actually not going together yet, but basically just to get an idea how it all goes together and how it's going to look afterwards, I've just been putting it together to see, as I say, how it's going to end up looking and what colours are going to go where. So that goes around there, and then there's the toe unit that slots together into the top there, and as far as I can tell that basically just sort of locates in there like that. That bit's falling off the bottom, but I'm not worrying about that at the moment. And then the back of the heel, obviously that pops on there and that goes over the top, pretty much like that, but pushed in properly. So we've already got two different shades of green on here. There's light at the front and the back, and the middle green on there, and that's the foot assembly, the feet. So to be honest, that's enough bits for me to be worrying about at one time, being the first one of these that I've done. So I'm going to get those taken back apart again, painted up. Going to cover them in grey primer just because it's nice and easy. But I'm going to make a special note of what colours I wear. So taking it all off of the foot, because the foot, as I say, is already done, so I don't need to worry about that. So we've got those three bits that are one colour. Actually, they are two different colours, so the middle piece is a different colour. That's the same as those. Get that one to one side. We've got the lighter green and the darker green. Right, I've got dark steel and steel, which are quite nice colours in this, again in the mecha colour. So I'm going to see, yeah, I think the dark steel is what I use for most of the inner frame. So I think I'm going to use the dark steel for the dark bit and then steel for the inside bit. If it comes out too shiny, then I'll have to rethink and see how it looks, but I don't think it's that shiny. And obviously again the light green and the deep green is the not quite so dark as the olive green. So I'll get these primed and painted up, both of them, and then we'll see how they look when they're together. While I'm waiting for that to dry, I thought I'd fill you in on a little test that I did. I was wondering about primers and these paints, not having used the mecha colour paints before. I did some testing with them, with the old favourite plastic spoons. So I used white primer on a white spoon and then went over it with say nothing at all, just the primer and the very light green, the mid green and the olive green, or dark green and olive green, just to see how it came through. Now this is just a couple of fairly thin coats and the coverage is pretty exceptional. I wasn't sure after that was masked over that was actually colouring at all, but it was and did quite well. So what I actually did was then I used some grey primer and some black primer, and apart from my dodgy masking, that the results pretty much speak for themselves. If you just compare the paint, there's virtually no difference between them. You can't see any of the primer through the painting. Obviously on the darker colours is much the same as well, so you can't tell what colour primer I used, apart from the big bit down the middle. The coverage is exceptional. So these Mecha Colour paints, although they're thin enough to go through an airbrush, you don't need a lot of it, and you say a couple of thin coats will actually give you, I say, decent coverage even on black primer. So I went with the grey primer for the kit itself because it's easier to see where you've actually sprayed, and you know, it's a nice neutral colour to go on top of. So there you have it. The pieces have been painted, so identical bits for either side. What have we got here? The dark steel comes out quite nicely, and the normal steel comes out quite nicely without being wildly different enough that it's going to look quite good, I think, underneath. And obviously the light green comes out looking almost white when there's nothing to compare it to. So I'll let these dry properly and then see about assembling them, and we'll see how they look when they go onto the foots, these bits. So I'll wait for them to dry, get them off the pegs and get them assembled. Now the paint's dry, we can get it assembled. So I've got the foot from earlier, and I'll be putting it together. Now I'm not using the instructions to do this. I'm thinking I can probably remember. So we get the instep in, then the main piece of the foot, the two sides go in and all the way down. Yep, that's the other side. Then we get the toe cap assembled, getting that in there, and that slides onto the front just like that. Then we've got the actual heel, which locates over that bit, or it should. There we go. And then the outside ankle heel piece on top of that. So that's all snapped together nicely. We've still got articulation in the ankle and the toe. Not as much as there was, but still enough to make something there. Talked at by my Alexa. I didn't even talk to her. And that goes onto the other foot, along with the one that I'd just done earlier. And that is his feet. Looks like he's got big shoes on now. So the pale green is actually looking a bit pale green. Now you see it next to the other green, it sort of brings out the colour a little bit more. Certainly green next to a white. Get something actual white. There you go. Yeah, there's definitely a shade of green to it. So that's that. I'm going to continue onwards and upwards with the legs. So they'll basically be popped out to deal with one leg at a time. Although, again, I'm going to get all the pieces for both legs cut off and ready to go, and we'll see just how much of this is going to get covered over. So I'll get the bits off the sprue for the next part, show you what I've got, and then get them painted up as well. So, and that's pretty much all the parts for the right leg. I've sort of tried test fitting them onto the leg to figure out how it's all going to go together. I think I've got it. I think I understand what's going on. I've got it divided into colours. So I've got the one that's got to be the grey metallic bit. I've got the lighter greens and the darker greens. Now, the one other thing that I've got to do on this leg is the one that everyone's been telling me is going to be so much fun, I'm going to really enjoy it. the Zaku beads. Now these are these bits. They come on the sprue basically like that. So getting them off is fun because they're just tiny little washer things. What I figured out to do, and what I've done, is use the cocktail stick. It's actually just the right size. I'll show you with another cocktail stick that hasn't got blue tack on the ends. Basically it fits through just right. They've actually well designed these sprues with, let's say, raised bits, so you can actually do similar to that. So you can put them through and then cut them off, and then you don't lose them. They don't ping everywhere, or they haven't yet. So it does say to fit them directly onto the bits. There's two of these little end pieces which need one on each, and then they fit into a metallic spring, which we've got two of just for the legs. But obviously if I put them on there, then I can't paint them, so I'm going to paint them on the cocktail stick. First of all, I need to basically get rid of the little nubs from them, so I'll be sanding them down. I'll leave them on the stick. I'll put a little bit of blue tack on each end so they can't go anywhere. I thought that was cunning. So what I'm going to do is basically tidy up these. I've tidied up all the nubs on the other parts. Then I'm actually going to go and get the other leg done as well, because obviously painting one bit in one colour is pretty pointless. So I've cunningly put all these on my little sprue holey bits. I've used the light coloured ones. I have dark coloured ones as well, which I'm going to use for the other leg, so I can keep the parts separate so I know what's what. The beads, again, I'm going to put onto another cocktail stick with a little bit more blue tack either ends, get them sanded down and then painted. They're the darker green, so I'll keep a note of that to go with that. Although I've got the sprue there, I can tell easily which one's which. So same story. Once I've tidied up all of these, I'm going to try and do it obviously in place. Basically going to separate it so I've got one, then I can use just a small piece of a sanding brush and try and just remove the nub without flattening any sides. There's basically a little nub on either side, so that should pretty much do that. I need to go over again slightly with the finer version as well. I know I've missed one on the end. I just grabbed the first one I saw. So yeah, I'll get that done, get them primed in grey again, and then get the colours on, and then we'll see about assembly. So I'll see you when I'm ready to do that. That's all the parts for the leg, all primed and painted, and obviously I've got the inner frame of the leg there ready to go. So I'm going to see about assembling it. Now the nice thing about these kits, as ever, basically there's very little you need to glue on them. They go together so well, normally without dropping bits, that you don't have to worry about it. So that bit goes on there, and the same the other side. Now the instructions are not terribly clear about that, or not terribly clear about that in English. Basically you have to decipher the bits, the little symbols say, warning, do exactly the same the other side with that bit. And there's another one that do similar sort of things. It's saying on the other side use this bit. So when you come to these, they're different, but you've got to use one on one side and one on the other. So we get those two on there, and then we get the inside pieces fitted on there as well. These are again both identical, so you don't need to worry too much about which one goes where. They pop in there, and then we have, trying to skip over the bits that I've already done for the main bits. I think I've got these in the right order to put them in the right places. That goes onto the sort of top of the foot like that. That's the back, all lines up with nice little clips that hold it in place. That's the back, so that's the next bit that I've done there. Then we've got the two sides that I was talking about, so getting them the right way round and the right way up. So that one goes on that side that. So you've got to make sure you get it all clipped in. That bottom bit needs to go over there. That's that one, and the other side much the same. Yep, that's that in there. Then we've got the two side pieces. Easy to get both of them in mostly, and then you can obviously push both of them to get both of them to go home at the same time. Mostly. There we go. So those two on there. Then the front piece on the front, funnily enough. Then next up we've got these. Again, go on the sides. Yep, that is the right way around. And that on the front, but before that goes on the front, the little lighter coloured bit clips into it there, just like that, and then that goes in there. Just about getting that lined up. There we go. That's that one on there. And then the back shell goes around and clips onto the bits that we've already done. Like that. Then we've got the knee. Just goes on the front there. And the answer to my earlier question as to how much of the inner frame is visible, virtually none. You can see some when the knee opens. You can obviously see bits around there, but not very much at all. But we know it's there, like ever. So put that aside. Then we get the fun with the beads. Now, the first bead goes on to the first one of these, like that. And the same on the other one. Like that. And then the metal spring goes onto there as well. Push that on as far as it will go. Then basically the rest of the beads go on there as well. As I've done this on a cocktail stick, it's nice and easy to put that on the inside of the spring. And then you can carefully move all of them onto the spring, and then get that on the end there as well. Now you need to get it the same orientation, so they're both pointing in the same way or thereabouts. And then you can actually stretch the spring out a bit to push it all the way home on that end, so it should be nice and tight with no movement on there. And then we can get two ends located in there and pushed all the way home. In there as well. A little bit stiff going in there because obviously the ends of some of these have got painted, so they're a little bit thicker going in. Obviously the holes have been painted a little bit in the frame, and the peg has been painted a little bit on the outside there. So that's that in there like that. And being that it's a spring, when you move the knee, everything moves with it. Just there to get that lined up quite nicely. So that's that. That's the other leg that I've already built. That's how I knew what I was doing. The foot can then, if I've got the foot in here, there we go, sorry, nudging the camera. I had the foot put away. The foot goes into the bottom there. So you've got, again, all the ankle articulation, knee and everything ready to go. And that is a pair of legs ready to be put back on the body, although we need to do the waist next, so the waist unit, which again I've built the mechanics of, but I've basically got to put the skirt on it. So I'll put that aside and once again get the next parts ready and show you what we'll be doing. I thought I'd show you my way of doing the section builds. So what I've got is parts A and B that I've previously done, and obviously that's the inner frame done up. Now the other bits, because I don't know what I'm doing with these Gundams, basically I've cut all the pieces off for this admittedly quite small section and basically put them on the pictures of them on the instruction manuals, because I wouldn't know what's what. Now this is the sort of pre-build build where I put it together to see what it's going to look like and figure out what I'm going to do with it, how I'm going to paint it. So I've got basically 3 different colours here, apart from the inner frame that's already done. I've got the very dark green and the darker green, a couple of bits of each, and one of the dark interior pieces. Now I think the interior piece is not actually going to be visible at all from what I can see, but this is why I'm putting it together to begin with. So what I'm actually doing is getting the bit that I need. Now this is slightly different to that because I've already put this top section on, but we won't worry about that too much. Making sure I get that the right way round. What I'm doing is not pushing it in fully, but getting it lined up and getting a feel for how it's going to look, what bits are going to be visible, what bits aren't, where I've got to worry about where the paint's going to go. So from that bit, basically the only bit that's visible are these 2 little squares on the front. The rest of it are in the bottom section. So that tells me where I can hold it with clips for painting and things like that. Now these 2 bits look very similar, but obviously are slightly different shapes. That goes on there, and they clip into that bit. So the same the other side. Assuming I've got these both the right way round. Yep, they look good to me. So they go into that. So the ball joints, again, something I don't have to worry too much about, but they're nicely posable. Again, they're falling out because I haven't pushed it in fully, and I'm doing it off camera here. I'll move down here. These bits, so have a ball joint that goes into there. Actually, that bit will come off of there until I get there. Now this is a sub-assembly which has got the 1 and the 2, so you've got to put that one on first and then the other bit afterwards. So looking at how that's going to go together, just like that, and that clips onto the front of that, and then on the top bits of that, they go on there. Okay, that's that, and it goes onto the back of this. That goes up onto that little spike, and they go onto there. Okay, I'm not going to worry too much about getting it all clipped together. It looks like quite a tight clip on there. There we go. So that's on there. Those both fallen off there, so I won't worry about them at the moment. So say where I didn't push them on firmly, that's why they're being a problem. And that one goes back on the top, and both of these just go into those. Getting the right way up. They make a point of saying that you got the curve in one direction. Make sure you hit that one on the right side. So actually, take that back off there for now, and we'll see. Yeah, making sure you get the little bit there is that front. I'm trying to line up to see what shape goes in where. Oh, they've got 2 pins there. They've got to go into the holes. So that's quite nice and easy. That's that, and then that will go onto the top there, and that bit will ultimately hold that all together. So let me just pop these back lightly in the right place there, so we can get a look at how it all looks overall. Yeah, that one's not going to stay because I'm not going to push it in too hard. But yeah, that's what we're going for. So we've got a couple of lighter panels there, and same at the front and down there. But the rest of it is all there. And yeah, that's not going to be visible at all. I think that's a mounting point for one of the weapons. So it doesn't really matter what colour I do that, although you might be able to see it through from the front a bit. So I'll be going with the gunmetal on that. The steel, dark steel on that one, I think. So yeah, I'm going to get this taken back apart again, back down to its component bits for painting. Get them primed up, get them painted up in the right colours, and then build it again for real, which won't take any time at all because you've already seen how it goes together. This is why I like the sort of initial sub-assemblies, because it gives you that bit more confidence of how to do it when you come to do it for real, as it were. So I'll get these painted up in the greens and see you in a bit. Painted. The observant amongst you might notice that there's more bits than there were before. You also get some sunshine coming in, so it's messing up the colour, but there we go. Don't get sun very often, so it's nice to have a little bit to work with. Right, the reason I've got some different bits is because these bits are a custom colour. I didn't have a green that was just right for the green, so what I've done is a mix of the olive green, which is what these other bits are, and I've mixed in some deep green just to lighten it a little bit. So we've got a slightly different shade of green on those. Now these are the only other bits that need to be in that colour, so there's no way I'm going to mix up the same mix exactly the same twice, and for such a few number of bits I didn't want to bother keeping some, so I've got them prepared already. So we'll find them in the instructions when I need them, and panic because they're not on the sprue, but I know where they are. I'm going to put them aside safely, so I've got them when I need them, when I get to them in the next bit of the instructions. I think that's sort of to do with a backpack or something. So the bits I actually need, the bits that you saw earlier, are here. They're not completely dry yet. I'm just going to leave them to dry now, but I just wanted to let you know why there are some extra bits there, and if you're building along with me, you might want to do something similar. Say you've only got half a dozen bits there, or eight other pieces that need to be exactly that colour. If you've got a green you're using for it, then obviously you don't need to worry about it. Just take them when you need. Do it however you want to do it. But this is the way I was doing it, so I've got them ready now. So when it's all dry, I'll put them aside safely and get on with putting this back together onto the waste bit that we've got prepared earlier. So I'm going to let these dry and come back to you shortly. Okay, let's try building it for the second time for real. Still got the instructions here because I'm not an idiot. Pretty sure I know what I'm doing, but I put them in order as well, so I should be working along to see what we're doing. So we've got the first bit of that goes on there, and this time I'm actually pushing them on securely, still not having to glue them together, but still putting them together so they're actually not going to come apart again this time. Now these, the greens aren't wildly different, but that's pretty much what I was going for, just that slight different shading. It's definitely a different colour, but it's close. So that's that one. Next picture. Let's see, I'm still going by the pictures. We're putting these together, so let's get these the right way around. Again, these are bits that are just slightly different. One's a fair bit lighter than the other. So once they're together, he says, getting them together. There you go. This time I'm actually going to make sure these go in there properly. So actually go in quite securely, and they're not going to be falling about while we're continuing the build. And it gives you that bit of articulation there. Once it's all together, you can get it sitting nicely, I think. Right, let's see. We've got the next bit. We're putting that one first. Over there. And then these two bits go on the top. No. The next bit in line. See, I sorted it out, and then ignored my own organisation skills. Clipping that bit onto there, and then these bits go on the right way round on there. Again, you get the slight variation of colour on there, which is quite nice. I like that. It's come out nicer than I thought it might. Then that goes on the bottom there, and that goes on the top. This was the bit that was quite tight, so let's see how well that goes on now. Everything's all on there properly. Yeah, it's still tight, but there you go. So that's got the articulation just up and down, with the middle bit for some reason. Don't know what that's for. I'm sure there's something about it for real in the story. Right, then we've got this one. Making sure you get that one on that side, and that one on that side, therefore. Okay, and then that will go on the top there. And the little extra bit will go onto there, holding that securely. And that is that. And I've got the legs that I prepared earlier, which I can now attach in, or not, as the case may be. Yep, there we go, there's one leg in. Move that out the way so we can get the other leg in without it coming apart. Oh, I've got Foxy's cold. Turn the camera on and start sniffling. And there we have a pair of Zaku legs together with his skirt. We can arrange however we like when we get it sorted out. So there we go. There's still some detail on the back there that you can still see the legs, so that was worth doing. And obviously once the that's not right, little bit snapped off, I'll have to glue that in place. Right, so be careful of the Zaku bead bits. That was very fine, that bit, but the other one seems fine. Right, I'll glue that in place. A little bit of extra thin should do that. Should be able to get the tip of that and get that back where it should be. And I won't move that. No, right. It's going to beads all over the place if I'm not careful. What I'm actually going to do is glue that the first and second beads together to give myself a little bit more area that the glue is going to hold on to. It should be okay. I wonder why that's been a problem. I obviously caught it at some point without realising. Put a bit too much strain on it. So I'll make sure I leave that. It's not pushed up fully because otherwise there wouldn't be that big gap there. I'll play around with that and see what I can do to improve things with that. But once it's built in place and positioned, obviously we won't have to worry too much about things like that. So I'll leave that to one side. Next up is the arms. So I'll play around. Obviously, again, I've built the arm units, so I've just got the armour to put onto those. I'll get that ready off the sprue and ready to go, and we'll see. I think that's all for that. Well, I know it's all for the mid colour, but the darker green, there's still few bits, but I think the arms are much the same colour as the legs, because obviously that's the way these things go. So I'll get the bits off the sprue and get them ready for painting. And that's the right arm pieces. I've got them all cut off, obviously sanded down to the nice finish. And I've got them sorted out ready to spray. I haven't primed or done anything with them yet. I've sorted them out into colours as ever. So I've got the light greens, which are on those two bits. One more thrown on the floor. I've got the dark greens on those three, which I'll just move out of the way over there. I've got a lone solitary light steel, and I'm dropping another one. There we go, caught that one though. Lone solitary light steel, and three more of the dark steel. Now this is actually a little bit for the other arm as well. I saw you had to make two of these and couldn't figure out where it was going, but it goes on the other arm, so you're obviously making two identical. I don't know what it is. I can't even figure out what bit that is. It goes somewhere in the shoulder area. I think it holds the shield on one side. There you go. It holds the shield on one side, so I assume it does on the other side. Holds the spiky shoulder plate. But there's enough parts to deal with, so where I'm not comfortable knowing what all the bits are, I'd rather do them a bit and spend a bit more time, you know, repriming and painting and working out, changing colours and cleaning up the airbrush, rather than just having a mass of bits that are getting all confused as to what goes where. So I will do them in the same order as normal. Basically I start with the lighter colour and then work my way through the greens to the steel to the dark steel. Priming obviously doesn't matter, I do them all at the same time, but when I'm painting it's easier to do that, because if you do miss a bit of paint in the cleaning of the airbrush, if you've done a metallic especially, or if you've done a dark colour and go into a light, it looks really bad. But if you do a light colour going into a dark, it's not quite so bad. You can get away with it a little bit more. So priming first, and then once that's all done, so the colours are done, I'll show you the assembly. Right, let's get this arm assembled. I've got the bits obviously painted, primed first, then painted. Got them all ready to go. I've got the arm and the hand from the inner frame previously, so I'll be skipping bits of the instructions because I've already done them basically with that. So the first bits I've already done, that bit I've done, that bit I haven't done. So that's the first one here, which basically just goes on to the outside around there. So all this nice weathering that I did on there is all being covered up and forgotten about, but I'll be doing more weathering on the outside later. So I think that goes, yeah, a bit further on than that. It's obviously a little bit stiffer going on because of all the painting that's been done on all of it. And the frame obviously was painted, and then the inside of this has picked up some paint as well. So that's that. A little bit of paint flicking off from going on. Right, so that's that bit. Next up we've got a couple of bits to do. We've got that one to go on. Let's see if we get the orientation around the right way to pay attention to where we're going. That's there, so that goes down the bottom there somewhere. The right way up, of course, always helps. Looks like it goes over that bit. Yeah, there we go. And then that goes above it, quite high above it actually. Let's go around there somewhere. Let's see, it's got the little details as that bit, that blob there. Doesn't seem to be enough room. That's interesting. Pull that down so we can see what we're doing. Yeah, looks like I had the arm too far up. Have to keep an eye on that on the other one. So that moves, that turns still. So that's that. Now the other bit is two pieces put together. So that one goes that way round, onto those bits there. It just gives you the colour variations on that, and then that goes on the other side of that. Oh, the pins go into there. There we go. Actually, I'm going to take that. It won't come off, but I can bring it down a bit further. So that's that there. Yeah, you get some movement to these links as you move the elbow, which is quite nice. The arm sort of shifts over the top. Right, then we've got, what have we got? 1, 2 and 3. So we've got 1, turning that round, that way round. That one goes that way up, over that bit. Must be over there. It must go quite low. Not sure exactly where that bit goes, so let's come back to that, because that's the outside of the arm, and these bits need to go. Now they must key into it. Yeah, right, let's figure out how that goes on there. So that's there, and then that goes into that bit. So it's higher than I thought. So let's take that back off. I was thinking it was down more on the wrist, but it's not. It's right up the top here. So it goes in there like that, and then that goes over it that way. And that key bit there keys into that, as well as that fitting onto the surround like that. And same the other side. So we've got this shaped piece that goes into that hole there. Hopefully it comes out. There we go. That's that. Again, still got the movement. Then we have the next piece. Changing the orientation around again. That goes that way up on the bottom bit. Cool. And then we've got the wrist bit, which it says to make sure you get the right way up, so you've got the cut towards that on there. Getting there. Then which way around have we got it now? Still that way round. That last little metal wrist bit should go on that way round apparently, but that's not locating in. So is that on too far or not far enough? Which option do we think? On too far, I think, because that actually does locate. No, it doesn't. Does that fit onto that? That's the first thing to find out, if that fits into that or if that fits onto the other one. Right, for some reason that is not a very good fit on there. Let's try it the other way around just to check. No, that really isn't a very good fit the other way around. Let's see if it is just me not being forceful enough. Yeah, I think the paint has just filled that up a little bit too much. I felt that go on a little bit with some force on it. I feel it sort of popping in and popping back out again. So I think that is the right bit. It's the right way up as well. I didn't made a point of making sure it was the right way up. So I think that bit's just going to need a little bit of glue to hold that in place on there. It's too tight to fit without. It does say click, but the wrist is going to go in there as well, so it might not be important. Let's try. We'll put that together, and I'm missing a step. I'm just going to see if this will actually hold it in place enough. The hand on there, get that the right way around now, paying attention. That's down and that's up, so it's that way around. It goes in there. Does that? No, that doesn't hold it in place securely enough. So that is going to take a little dab of glue to hold that in place on there. So I can see any reason it's not holding in place. Just looks like there's not much to actually hold it. So I'll take that apart. Going to use just a dab of extra thin on the inside of that. And that should hold that in place just lovely. Eventually. Don't know why that bit's been a problem. Probably something I've done wrong. The glue's not taking very well because of the paint. I didn't strip the paint off. I thought being small enough that the paint would sort of strip itself off, which it often does on these bits. So I'll leave that to set, make sure that is on there okay. Then obviously that's got to go onto the bottom and the hand's got to go back onto there. So one more bit to put together. Actually no, I've got these two to put on there. They've got one flat side on the inside there that needs to go into that flat side onto the hole. Like that. And the same the other side. You can see which side's the flat side. Just about. There we go. Right, now this, I've built one of these already because it said to build two, so I've built one. So I'm just going to knock the other one together as well. That goes on the top, like that. Bigger one goes on the bottom, like that. And the other side goes over it there. This is the linkage between the shoulder armour and the shoulder itself. Seems to be. So there's another one of them done. Now the shoulder armour is these three bits that just all go together. Quite a nice combination of the three metallic, the one metallic and the three greens. The two greens. I'll get my counting right now. Two greens and the metallic, just to hold itself together properly like that. That one will go in there, and then that will go onto the top piece here. If I get it the right way round. Somehow, turn the page over. Yeah, it is that way around. The top piece goes into there, that way round. So I haven't quite got that together far enough. Again, it's another problem with the paint, not letting you quite close it together. So there we go, that's that on there, which goes up onto that post like that, and then that goes onto the arm like that. So once the hand's sorted out, it should be dry on there now anyway. Get that the right way round, and that bit holds in okay, and the hand will go on there also. So this is the right arm complete. That will go onto the body that we prepared from previously, if I can get it right without letting it twist too much. Yep, there we go. So we've got a body, we've got legs. I haven't put that together properly because I need to take it back apart again, but it's coming together. So there's elbow, you can see in there, and we've got movement, obviously the hand and the wrist and elbow, shoulder and everything. He's coming together nicely. So next up is the other arm, which is much the same but obviously with a different shoulder armour. So I'll just build that without, you know, showing you all that build being built, because it's exactly the same. Yep, same pieces, same, just the other way around. Hopefully the wrist piece will work better on the other one, but I'll get to that. I'll put that together for now anyway, because it's nicer together, isn't it? Yeah, I'll get that done and show you the arm when it's completed. I've built up the second arm, the left arm. It's exactly the same as the other, but obviously reversed. So it all works exactly the same as the other one. You've got the little bit of armour that shifts as you open it. The one thing that is different is it hasn't got the big shield on this one. It's got a sort of shoulder spiky thing, which I've obviously painted up as I have the rest of the arm. Now this goes together apparently. You pop that over there first, which has got to go that way round. Looks like it clips on either side as well as around there. And then the three spiky bits fit both inside the light green and over the dark green patches. The three spikes are all identical, so you don't have to worry about getting them the wrong way round. There you go, that's those, nice tight fit on those. And I've put on the other bit that I made two of last time. And then we've got the one little spike on there that goes onto the hole at the top. Get it the right way round, because it only goes one way. And yeah, I've got to make sure that is at a slightly different angle. Got to rotate that around a little bit. So what we'll do is we'll put in a pair of tweezers and just give that a twist round to get it, as it says on the thing, 45 degrees. Then that is in line for that. Still can't get that the right way around. That way around, there we go. And then that lines up and goes onto there. Not very easy to do, so I'm going to use those just to push it in from the inside. And that is the shoulder. So with that arm, don't try over the other one, goes on there like that. The shoulders come off as well. Obviously didn't have that put on as well as I thought. There we go, I think. So he's getting there. Arms, legs and a skirt. Right, next up, the body unit. I'll get all the bits cut off. Again, I built obviously the body. Most of it's the backpack bit, which I've also built. I've got that aside. I'll grab that out in a moment, and then we'll get on with the armour pieces for it. That's the body bits. I've taken the head off the body and obviously the arms and legs, so I've just got the body section to work with. Now the majority of this is actually stuff that I've already done. So obviously the body, the neck bit, the backpack, and these mid green ones that I painted earlier are all already taken care of. So I've actually only got half a dozen bits to sort out. There's two tiny little thruster things, the main cover backpack, and some deep green, which is quite nice. So I'll get these primed up and painted. I've got to find a colour for that. Again, it doesn't really matter what colour it is, but I'm going to go for something similar to the plastic as I have been for all of the rest of the build, really. So these are obviously going to be in the olive green. This is going to be the light steel, and so I'll find a sort of bluey purpley something that I can use for that. So I'll get them primed, painted up, and then start on the assembly. Okay, it's all painted, ready to go. The base piece here I used Vallejo grey blue, which is actually almost exactly a match for the original plastic, so I'm happy that I had that and used that. Right, so the build itself, we've got the main body part that I'd already done. Onto the back of that goes the back. I think all of this is going to be snapped together, except for there are a couple of very tiny pieces that I'm going to make sure I get in the right place and glued in, but most of this is going to be a nice tight fit, very tight fit, some of it. There we go, that's that on there. Now onto that we have the neck piece. Goes on there. Obviously that bit's already been painted and weathered. Now we've got the bottom skirt piece, which goes that way up, that way round, and these two little bits that are the slightly different colour going to there. That should just slide down in one way or the other. There you go, they just slide on all the way in, hopefully. There you go. It gives that little bit of tonal variation, the same as the other bit of the skirt that's got the slight different coloured pieces on it. Again, just getting that all the way home. A little bit further than that. There you go. Matches up around there. That goes on to the bottom, which way around with this at the front. Somewhere. Oh, that clips. Oh, the holes that I've just put in, these bits go onto. So that's going to take a little bit of bending open. Get that in there. That one in there as well. That's a couple of bits of this have been a little bit not tight. I don't mind being tight, but a little bit tighter than I'd hope. Yeah, so that is actually a separate bit, or at least a loose bit. So you've got to make sure you get that the right way round when you're getting that in. This is the top bit at the top. You get one side in, and then sort of bending open. Actually, I think that might be a lot easier to do without that back piece on, because that is sort of getting in the way. So I'm going to take this back piece back off if I can. Reverse all the steps. Trouble is, this was tight, wasn't it? Yeah, that's not coming off again. Damn it. Right, let's try again. At least with the other bits off, it's a little bit easier to get around. I hope you can see what I'm trying to get done there. Is just get that snapped on over there. There we go. That's easier without the arms getting in the way. So let's put that back and that back. it's the right way around. So that's that on there. Next up we've got the two little bits. You've got to get them the right way around. So apparently if you look at them from that side, that one goes on that side and just goes into there, and that one does the same the other side. None of this has needed any glue yet. Then we've got the two side panels that go on over the arms. And they just, yeah, little bits that locate into corners of all of those. Like that. Let's get that arm bent around again as well. There we go, that's that one. Now these are the bits that I might need to glue. They're just the tiny little window pieces that again you've got to get the right way round, and they just go into there with, yeah, that bit on the outside, so that is that side. I think. Let's check it out. Alright, what have we got? We've got an angle that goes up and down. That might be that side. Yeah, it goes on that side better, I think. Let's see, does that look like that lines up there? Or does it look like it lines up there? No, definitely that side, I think. See, definitely that side, I think. Nice and clear and concise. Not going on quite as well as I'd hoped, so it might not be the right side, but I think that corner piece does look like it fits around the little metal piece inside there. I think it's just being a bit tight because of the paint. I don't want to push it with a nail or anything because that might well mark it. Yeah, that's definitely going in that side, so I think it's just thickness of paint on the two pieces causing that to be a little bit tight in there. Yep, there we go, that goes on there. Right, next up, that's that one. We've got the backpack, which I've already built most of. That goes onto the back. With the two little thruster engine bits as well. Which I did actually have on the wrong bit. I wasn't paying attention when I put those on. Oh, now I'm juggling with it. So make sure you get them on the right side. I had them on the top, not the bottom. So they've still got some movement there. Then we've got the main cover, goes over all of that. That way up, yep. So that goes over and in each side. Just make sure you get everything located in the right way round and the right height for it to all go together. There we go. And then these bits, now these have got an angle to the top piece. Hopefully you can see that there. It says to make sure you get them basically facing upwards. So again, these may have to be glued in place. I'll see how tightly they fit in and decide on that. Yeah, it feels alright, but not quite alright. So I think I'll add a little bit of extra thin around the edge of those, just to make sure they don't come out again. Obviously these don't have to move or anything, so yeah, I'll just add a little bit of extra thin around the edge of that. That will just hold those in place nicely. And the last piece of this little bit is the little shaped piece, which is on the other page. Let's get that the right way around. With that up that way, that goes up that way. So that just goes on there, into there like that. Yep. That goes together like that, and that goes onto the front. Yeah, in between those bits. Okay, so there we have the body. Now you've got this bit that opens, which is the chair where the pilot sits in it, which is quite nice. So that's the body, except for the one other bit that joins up there and there, more Zaku beads. Now I've left this deliberately until now because basically the way you build this piece is you put it on and then you have to cut the end off. Now I want to make sure I get it cut in the right place, so I needed this to get it done. So I'm going to get the beads off, primed and painted, and then we'll see about getting everything down to the right size. There we have the head completed, and indeed the entire mobile suit completed. I'm quite happy with it. It's come together very nicely. There's articulation where I didn't expect there to be any, and bits of the skirt, the little thruster bits move a little bit, as well as obviously the arms and legs and feet and toes, and the little bit that opens for the pilot to get in and out. The head obviously has full movement as well. Arms, wrists, everything. All in all, I'm very happy with the build. It's been quite nice. It's gone together very easily, no trouble at all with any of that. And that is going to be the end of this video. I'm going to finish it here, and I'll come back next time with, I say, finishing off with decals and weathering and the weapons. Got to make his weapons yet, so yeah, stick around for the next bit. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.